Welcome back to my channel, y'all. My name is Tierney. I don't know if I say that enough on my channel, but that's my real name. And I know my page name is TW23. And today we're going to be doing the recap slash review of episode 5, season 1 of Black Lightning. And it was a lot of stuff that happened in this episode, so let's get right into it. The episode starts off with Jefferson on top of a building, and he's asking Gambi, like, are you sure about this? And Gambi's like, yeah, but he didn't sound too sure about it. And Jefferson takes off and he starts flying. I assume they're talking about whatever the device is that makes him, jet off like that. And then the next thing we see is him flying around and he sees a kid that's getting stopped by the police and they're having a hard time restraining him. And they look like they're about to shoot him. Well, they are about to shoot him. The cop had his gun out. Jefferson stops the bullet. He's trying to get the kid to calm down, but the kid continues to try to fight him. So he has to knock the kid out, and then he tells the cops, this kid is obviously high off green light, and next time y'all should use a taser first. We go to Gambi's shop, and we see Tobias entering Gambi's shop. Gambi loads his gun and gets ready to go out. Now, why is Tobias entering Gambi's shop, and how do they know each other is my first question here. Tobias says it's been a long time, and then Gambi says not long enough. Gambi says they had a deal that he should be gone forever. Oh, Gambi also says that serum that he has pumping through his veins, it might not be a happy ending for him and his sister. Now, the serum comes in later in the episode. We'll talk about that later, but I'm assuming this has something to do with Jefferson's dad. Gambi says they didn't tell you all the side effects with that serum. Tobias says, well, whatever they didn't tell me, I figured out on my own. And then he says, I know that you know some things. I know you still work for the ASA, which I don't know what the ASA stands for. So if y'all know, let me know. He says, do you know who Black Lightning is? He just straight up asked him. He says, I don't know who he is, and knowing who Black Lightning is could get me killed, and I tried not to know information that could get me killed. And Tobias says Black Lightning has become a personal problem for him, and he assumes that Black Lightning has become a personal problem for Gambi as well. And I'm wondering why he assumes that it's a problem for Gambi. I'm assuming that more information about their relationship is going to be revealed in the upcoming episodes, but I don't like what I'm hearing about Gambi and Tobias. They have a personal relationship, they have history. So then we go to a scene with Vanessa. She's in her room and she's Googling enhanced abilities and unexplained strength. And what comes up is a video from this guy, and he's talking about Tuskegee experiments as well as the Flint water crisis. Then Jennifer interrupts and she asks her if she could borrow a jacket because her and her friend are going to go roller skating. I think Anessa's really jumpy about looking up that type of information around her family. She doesn't want anybody to know about her powers, and she tells Jennifer to hurry up and get out. And so Jennifer finds the cat costume, and she asks Anessa, oh, what do you have this for? And Anessa's like, I was going to a costume party. She grabs the jacket and she gets out, and then she goes back to her video. The man continues to say that in Freeland about 30 years ago, 9 kids with these unexplained abilities went missing. The next scene is Jennifer, and she's at the skating rink applying her lip gloss, taking selfies, and her friend's like, come on, this isn't about selfies, let's go ahead and go skate. And there's 2 girls that are sitting in the back of her that she's not really paying any attention to. And one of the girls' name is Lana, and I guess she runs track as well. And she says it's gonna take, more than lip gloss to fix that face. Jennifer starts saying, girl, you still mad because I dusted you at your track in front of your school? You need to basically let that go. And so then the girl says, oh, something about Khalil being crippled. You need to stop worrying about Khalil and how he dumped you and worry about putting some lotion on your knees or something like that. And so they get up and her friend pushes her first. So at this point, Jennifer's just defending herself. And then Lana gets up and she's like, I've been waiting since the 6th grade to beat you up. Jennifer has to go ahead and handle them. Her dad taught her how to defend herself, so she uses that in that situation because it was 2 against 1, obviously. So her friend comes up and she's like, what's going on? Because they're both hurt. And Jennifer just walks away. She's like, I mean, you see what they did to me, and then she had a rip in her her sister's jacket. So she was mad, so she gathered her things and they left. The next scene is Jefferson at the store, and he's looking for some medicine. We all know that he's been having headaches and other kind of aches and pains throughout his body since he's been back being Black Lightning, you know, more full time than he has been in a little while. And there's a man at the counter with his daughter in his arms, and he's arguing with the cashier, telling him that the medicine is old, like he wants to return it. And so Jefferson comes up, I guess thinking that he could help, and he looks at the medicine. He's like, this is 3 years old, man. Like, you got to take this back. And the cashier's like, no, the store policy is, you know, I can't take used medicine back. And the man's like, it's not used. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Jefferson, in the middle of this, gets a headache. And the man, like, kind of gets his bat ready, like he's about to do something. And Jefferson's like, look, that bat's not going to end up where you think it's going to end up. And he kind of backtracks when the man with the baby in his arms says, are you okay? And he's like, yeah. So then he was like, how about this? I'll go ahead and get buy you some medicine, and then, you know, it's not a handout. Just next time you see somebody in need, or help them out the way I helped you out. I think at that point Jefferson realizes that something is going on with him, but being a man, he doesn't really want to accept it or deal with it. Before, when he was on the roof at the beginning of the episode, he had gotten a little headache, and Gambi had asked him, are you going to come back in? And he said, no, I want to practice some more. We see him going through these little spells of headaches throughout the episode. So we go back to Anessa in her bedroom. She's taking notes. She's still looking at the video. And the man on the video says that David Poe, the editor of the Freeland Gazette, canceled a series of articles that were going to come out exposing the vaccine as the source of the enhanced abilities for those children. Then he says that the reporter on the articles was Alvin Pierce, which is her grandfather. And then he goes on to say that Alvin Pierce was murdered a week later, and his murder was never solved. So then we see Jefferson. He's in his bedroom. He takes some medicine for a headache, and he gets a text from Gambi saying 555 North Lincoln Street. He goes to that location. When he gets there, he opens the storage space, and he sees a whole bunch of boxes, and it looks like it's full of green light. He hears a gun on him. He turns around to a man, and the man starts talking out the side of his neck, talking about, oh, you're trespassing, I could shoot you and I'd be considered a hero. And then Black Lightning has to show him who's who, and he knocks the gun out of his hand, and he's like, who set you up with the factory worth of chemicals? The man says he only picks up and delivers the chemicals. Black Lightning asks him, who gave you the chemicals? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, are you lying to me? He's like, hold on, his name is Joey Toledo. So then Black Lightning / Jefferson goes back to Gambi's shop. This is where he goes off on Gambi, because he's like, Joey Toledo is still around. Like, how could you not know that he's still around? You're supposed to have an ear to the streets and know what's going on. The reason why Jefferson is so mad is because Joey Toledo works for Tobias Whale, who killed his father. He's kind of confused as to how Gambi couldn't know that Joey Toledo is still around. And then Gambi says, you need to calm down. I haven't heard about Joey Toledo in a long time. So that probably means, you know, he's lying low. So then Jefferson gets worked up again. He's like, no, I need to go get Joey Toledo. And before he can finish, he passes out. At this time, you know, Gambi runs over to him, and he's like, are you okay? And he calls Lynn, and then the next scene that we see is Lynn, and she has him hooked up to some machines, I guess, to figure out his heart rate and see what caused it. And she said, you know, it wasn't a stroke or a heart attack. And then Gambi tells her all late, like, oh, well, he's been having headaches, and he's been having mood swings and stuff. And she says, well, I don't see anything that, you know, would have caused a change to his behavior. And so she's like, is this Black Lightning related? And he says, no, he's never had an issue before. And she kind of wasn't trying to hear it. And then we see Jefferson wake up, and he's like, where am I? And she's like, you passed out. Or Gambi says, you passed out. And he's like, well, I got to get up and go get Joey Toledo. And she's like, no, you need to calm down. I need you to stay here so I can run some tests and see what's going on with you. Like, you're not going anywhere. I just want to say, in that scene, Jefferson looked real disappointed, but I really did feel like Lynn really cared about him in that moment. Not saying that she doesn't otherwise, but I really felt it in that scene. The next thing we see is Tobias. He's talking to his sister, and he says he wants to go pay the tailor a visit, and she says that Lady E won't be happy with that. And he's like, I'm not scared of Lady E. Basically, he's tired of like babysitting the 100, and you know, he's kind of frustrated because things aren't going his way. And she says, well, you need to calm down. You make these reckless choices, and the reason why you're doing it is because you have dealt with your first problem. She says, I found Aldrich. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but that's their father. Then they try to make us feel something for Tobias by showing us a flashback of his childhood and his father talking down to him and talking about all the medical bills that he has to pay because of Tobias, and saying, you know, he can't do anything, he can't go anywhere. Basically that he's useless, he's not white, he's not black, he's nothing. And then his sister's in the flashback as well, and she's telling him like, you know, you need to calm down. And I think he slaps the sister, I'm not sure, and he looks like he's about to slap Tobias as well. And then his sister snaps him out of the flashback. He asks her, where is he? So then we go back to Anessa, and she goes to talk to her father in his room. And she says, I'm doing this project for school. I'm not sure if she said medical history. The project is about something relating to the family. She says, I was trying to find out more information about Grandpa. His research delved into some weird stuff. And then he cuts her off and says, you know, he says, your grandpa was into a lot of strange stuff. And she's like, well, you know what? I know this is hard for you. So basically, sorry I asked. And then she goes to walk away. He calls her back and he says, no, you deserve to know about him. He said that he always did the right thing and you remind me a lot of him. And then she walks away. This is when Anessa decides to go see David Poe, the editor of the Freeland Gazette. I guess she has set up a meeting with him. The first question she asks him is, how long have you been the editor of the Freeland Gazette? And he says almost 40 years or over 40 years. And then he says something about her grandfather, and she's like, you know, I want to know more. And he says, well, what do you want to know about? And then she says, I want to know about the expose on those missing kids. And he's like, you got to go. I have a story to finish for the morning edition. And she's like, did I say something wrong? And, you know, she starts apologizing, and he's like, you need to get out. And so she leaves, and she's like, I looked you up. You were supposed to be a champion of the people. We go see Jefferson / Black Lightning go talk to Inspector Henderson. And the first thing Jefferson says is, oh, you're kind of jumpy for a cop. He said, one of these days you're going to get shot. Black Lightning says, I'm just here to help you. And Henderson's like, I don't need your help. And then Black Lightning says, you know, Greenlight has gotten out of control, but I got a name of a higher up, and his name is Joey Toledo. And then Henderson says, Joey Toledo, like he's supposed to be long gone. He says, Joey Toledo is not gone, so if you find any information about him, could you contact me? And Henderson says, how am I supposed to contact you? And Jefferson says, look in your car, and in his car is a phone. And he's like, are you serious? And then, you know, he gets no response because Black Lightning is gone. So then the next scene we see is Lynn, and she's checking out Jefferson, looking into his eyes, and she says, oh, Gamby tells me that you've been trying to go back out as Black Lightning. I guess that since the incident had passed it out, they don't want him to go out. Jefferson says, you know, people are out here dying, and she's like, I know and I'm concerned about them, but my top priority is you. You know, Jefferson kind of smiles, and then the doorbell rings. They're interrupted by Lana, her mom, and another woman. I don't know who this woman is, and they start getting loud with him at the door, saying that Jennifer broke Lana's wrist. This is when Lynn comes in, and she's like, you know, I know we're all concerned about our children's safety. Please come in, have a seat, and, you know, let's talk about it. So then we see them all, you know, chatting it up, laughing, having a good time. And Jennifer walks in, and they all get their stuff, and they all leave. The first thing they say to Jennifer is, how could you not tell us that you were in a fight? She says, I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you that I was in a fight. And then Lynn gets all mad and she's like, you know, you got to tell us these things, and there's other ways to solve problems than using your fist. She's grounded. So then her dad's like, well, they didn't tell us that it was two girls. You know, he's kind of proud of her because she defended herself against two people. The next scene is Anessa going back to the Freeland Gazette to talk to editor David Poe about giving her the articles. Well, he takes her in the office because he's like, you're not going to leave me alone. You're just like your grandfather. And he gives her the articles. He says, you know, Jefferson has built a good life for you and your family. You need to just leave this alone. The editor tells her that they're watching, and she asks who he's referring to. And that's when he says, if you find out, you'll probably be killed. He says, leave and don't come back. I appreciate Anessa's curiosity in this episode to find out more, because she knew that he knew something, and she knew he had information that he could give her about her grandfather when nobody else is willing to give her that information. Tobias and his sister go to visit his father at his house, I assume, only to knock him out as soon as this man opens the door. His father basically says, you know, I at least stayed here and took care of y'all. Tobias is like, yeah, you're right, you did stay. And so he opens his arms like he wants to give him a hug. He comes up to him and he gives him a hug, only to squeeze the life out of him, literally like popping his back. His father falls on the ground. And then Tobias says, you're going to die because your back is broken and I guess nobody's going to check on you. The next thing we see is Anessa. She's reading the articles and she pulls out a key from a little envelope. The envelope says ASF, which stands for Anvil Storage Facility, when she Googled it. And at this point, she gets up to look around in her closet and she sees that her black hoodie is missing. So she goes out of the door and calls to Jennifer and says, do you have my black hoodie? And Jennifer says, no, I have hoodies of my own, when she has her black hoodie on right there. We see Jennifer, she's sitting on the couch watching TV, looking bored, and Jefferson goes to talk to her about what happened. He quoted a Holocaust survivor and says that the only time you should fight is when there's no other option, or to put the fire out. That's it. That was in response to her saying she doesn't know why she's on punishment, and he says that, you know, you lie by omission. Then we see Anessa, she's in her cat costume, and she's doing all these moves in the mirror, like, you know, getting ready to fight, and she rips the costume on the thigh. And so she's like, well, I have to go shopping for another outfit. The associate asks her name, and she says her name is Monica. And he helps her to pick out different outfits and get a wig and all that stuff. And then he says, you're going to be the most fashionable superhero on the block. And then he gives her a hug and he's like, be careful out there. We see Jefferson. He's working out. It looks like he's probably working out at home in his garage with a punching bag. And he gets a call from Henderson. And Henderson tells him that he did track down one of Joey Toledo's old girlfriends. And he asked around, and he said that one of his old girlfriends was seen with a man that matches the description of Joey Toledo. So Henderson says, I will send you a picture of her and some more information. And he says, don't let me down, or don't let this be a mistake. And Black Lightning says it won't be. Jefferson goes to Gamby's shop to get suited up. I believe that's where he keeps the suit. And he's getting suited up, and Gamby approaches him and says, take the suit off, Jefferson. You don't need to go anywhere. And Jefferson gets downright ugly with this man. Well, first he says, we already had this conversation. And then he says, if you don't move out the way, I'm a Black Lightning you. So Gamby doesn't have any choice at this point but to give him what he wants. And he takes it and he leaves. Now, we still see that he's been having all these headaches and stuff, right? So I feel like he should listen. But anyway, I feel like at this point he wasn't being reasonable. He wasn't really thinking. He was more so thinking about revenge. And after all that stuff that he just told his daughter, it was like a slap in the face. Like, that was very hypocritical to tell her, like, oh, you need to only fight when needed. And then you're going out to find this man when you need to be resting. Tobias receives a letter. He looks at the letter kind of weirdly when he opens it. I guess it was blank or something, and then out falls dust, and he has a flashback to when Lady E was telling him about how in some countries in Africa people will find albinos and kill them and turn their bones into dust and sell it on the street as if it's magic. And, you know, out comes the dust in the letter. So to me, that was a message that his time was up to kill Black Lightning, because in the last episode she told him that you need to take care of Black Lightning, and he has yet to do that. Then we go to Anessa. She's all dressed up in her costume. She's going to the storage unit, the Anvil storage facility. She rips open the door to the storage unit, and then she looks down and she's like, dead rats. She's like, if I'm going to be a superhero, then I can't be afraid of dead rats. So then she's going through the papers and whatnot, and she sees a safe. So she is able to break into the safe, and inside of the safe is a small little serum. And something white or milky is in the serum, and she didn't open it right there, so we don't know what it is, but I assume that that's the serum that Gambi was talking about earlier in the episode, the one that Tobias and his sister took. So then we see Black Lightning, and he goes to find a lady. Her name is Caroline Brown, and I assume that that's Joey Toledo's girlfriend. He takes her cell phone and tells her, you know, get away from here and don't tell anybody or I'll hurt you or hunt you down. And he texts Joey Toledo from her phone and says they won't let me in, and then he says I'll be out in a minute. So he comes out and he's kind of looking around. He doesn't see her, and then Black Lightning comes up behind him and starts just, you know, raining down punches and kicks and all that kind of stuff. And at first, Joey Toledo's not fighting back, and he asks him, you know, where's Tobias? Joey says, I'm not going to tell you anything. And that's when Black Lightning gets a headache. When he gets a headache, it's like he can barely fight back, and Joey starts to get the upper hand on him. He starts raining down kicks, and then finally Black Lightning takes his leg and is able to pull him down. He tells Black Lightning that the next time Tobias sees him, he'll finish him, and then he says, I'll bury you myself. So he leaves Black Lightning on the ground, hurting from a headache, to the point where I don't even think he can get up or he knows what's going on. I don't even know if he's conscious at this point. And Gambi told him in the shop that he had figured out what was maybe causing the headaches, and all he needed was a day to fix that. And all he wanted him to do was just to wait. He was like saying that Joey Toledo will still be there tomorrow. But Jefferson had his mind made up already that he was going to get Joey Toledo tonight. So that's where the next episode will pick up at, probably him on the ground. And I'm going to hurry up and get that review out for y'all. I'd like to thank y'all for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave them down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.